The Dodgers built a super rotation, but suddenly injuries and a struggling piece have made their pitching picture heading into the 2026 season a lot less clear.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, a couple of non-roster names are suddenly pushing for a roster spot because of injuries, including a former All-Star and a former top prospect trying to resurrect his career. Clayton Kershaw made his Team USA debut in a World Baseball Classic exhibition, and even though it was far from perfect, the moment itself was pretty special. But first, we're 3 weeks away from the first regular season game of the year for the Dodgers, with their opening day rotation picture getting clearer, but not completely clear, Travis.
It feels like we just saw Will Smith hit the walk-off home run. We're getting closer to the opening of the next season, and today's episode of Locked On Dodgers is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBThe.show/LockedOn and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. You can pre-order right now. It's available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, and it is rated E for everyone.
Every weekday afternoon, Travis is live from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA as part of the Travis and DeMarco Show. And whether you're in SoCal, out of state, or on the go, the ESPN LA app makes sure that you never miss a beat. When I'm not behind the mic calling USC football games in Spanish, this is where I post up. Talking Dodgers baseball, daily conversations, real breakdowns, all of it built with you. If this is your first time dropping in, welcome. You're exactly where you should be. And if you're an everydayer, you already know this. This show runs on your energy. Are you watching on YouTube? Please help us out. Smash that like button, jump into the comment section, and subscribe so you're locked in every single day. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods, a quick 5-star rating helps spread the word to more Dodgers fans. And remember, if you ever want to be a part of the show, the Locked On Dodgers listener line is always open for you to leave a voicemail or a text. It's 279-3-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. All right, opening day rotation. Who's actually in? The Dodgers, they built this roster with pitching depth everywhere. But opening day rotations don't care about depth charts. They care about who's healthy and who's ready right now. And right now, it looks like the Dodgers could start the season without Blake Snell and Gavin Stone. And Dave Roberts has already hinted that both pitchers are unlikely to be ready for opening day, which immediately opens up opportunities for other players. So, Travis, are you okay if we walk through the rotation, what it could realistically look like right now?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, Lux. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is obviously going to be there. And in previous years, there were question marks. Okay, he is Japanese. They're playing in Japan. Let's have him be the opening day pitcher. Before that, okay, who's going to have opening day after Kershaw had that designation for over a decade? Right now, Yamamoto, undoubtedly, he's going to pitch opening day, knock on wood, except if something happens in the next 2 weeks with the World Baseball Classic. But he's pitching tomorrow, 2 in the morning in the World Baseball Classic for Japan. It's going to be cool to watch that. And he has this stretch of, Travis, I was going to say he's going to pitch twice in the World Baseball Classic. He could end up pitching 5 times. I wouldn't be surprised about that with the way that his mind is set right now. But Yamamoto, lock. Tyler Glasnow, he looked good for the second game in a row. It was the opposite of Sasaki, who struggled for a second game in a row. Glasnow looked good for a second game in a row, and the best part, healthy. Those two guys, they are locked and loaded right now, and the rest is the question mark because Shohei Ohtani, he won't pitch in the World Baseball Classic. He's going to come back to the States, and we will see how far stretched he is. It might be a situation like last year where he's going to start his first couple of turns in the rotation and start getting those 2-3 innings in and start working up until he gets those 5-6 innings and 75-80 pitches.
Yeah, I think that Yamamoto, assuming health, is clearly your horse coming into this thing. He's going to be the guy at the front of your rotation, and I think that Glasnow is probably, like you said, number 2. Now, it's kind of a weird thing to say out loud. And I don't mean this disrespectfully to Tyler Glasnow at all, but he has not been a guy that you traditionally think of as somebody that you can just put in the rotation and not worry about it moving forward. Like every time he pitches, you're kind of holding your breath, waiting for him to, have an elbow, a shoulder, a toe, a knee, a hip, or whatever it may be, because he just seems to get, nicked up a little bit more than the average guy. So, but I'm with you. He looked really good. He's as good as there is in all of baseball. It's just, he just needs the durability question mark to be put in the rearview mirror. And then we can talk about him the way we talk about the other guys. After that, I really do think it gets interesting. I would be very surprised if Shohei Ohtani does not start one of the first few games of the season. I don't think he's going to pitch into the 5th, 6th, 7th inning. I think he might not even pitch into the 3rd or 4th inning, but I do think that he will start, one of those games. It depends on how much work he gets in Camelback Ranch, how much work he's been able to continue to do while in Japan with Team Samurai and continue to kind of build up to where he is. I think after that is where it gets a little bit trickier, because I think you're right. Stone is not going to be ready to go in time. Snell is not going to be ready to go in time. But I think Roki Sasaki, unless he really comes unglued, and I don't think he will, I think he's going to get a chance to be one of those guys. And I think Emmet Sheehan is going to get a chance to be that last spot. I think that he has earned it. I think we tend to kind of just, the way our memories work, we don't think about how often he pitched for the Dodgers last year, and almost always pitched somewhere between not bad to really good. Like, he was very rarely kind of like, ugh. He just did not have many of those outings. So I think Sheehan is probably the inside guy. Sheehan might even be ahead of Sasaki at this point as far as reliability. He's just had more major league consistency than Sasaki has. And then, of course, you got the Ryans and the Wrobleskis on the back end. So while it may not be what any of us were thinking coming into the season, they still not only have more than enough, they probably have too many guys for not as many spots.
Yeah, and yesterday, Emmet Sheehan was on the mound for the Dodgers against Team Mexico, game that the boys in blue won 7-5. It was good to see him out there because, let's remember, he had been sick and he wasn't able to see action as he wished. 1 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks. Not his best, but just getting him out there is a part of the progression for him to be one of the starters for the Dodgers. You can see his stats from last year. Started 12 games, pitched in a total of 15 in the regular season, 6 wins, 3 losses, a sub-3 ERA. Like you said, his good numbers when he was pitching good were great. Even when he was pitching bad, he wasn't that bad compared to other pitchers that we've seen throughout the year. So Sheehan and Sasaki, those are 2 guys that we're also talking about with Tyler Glasnow, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's 4. Then the rest of the way, Travis, we brought it up yesterday. The Dodgers have 4 days off in the month of April. So when you're talking about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, the way that the Dodgers prefer using them with a 6-man rotation, that day off pretty much works as if you had an extra pitcher in the rotation and using him there. So when you talk about those extra options and Justin Wrobleski, Jack Dreyer, River Ryan, you just have to pick your spots. Potentially just 1 week is when you're going to need that 6-man rotation. The rest of the way, you might be able to function with 5 days. Is there a guy out of these 3 fellas, Wrobleski, Dreyer, Ryan, that you prefer to be like, okay, he's our 5th starter to kick off the season? Or is it just a mix and match depending on who they're playing?
I think that kind of to put him in reverse order, I think Dreyer is probably at the back of that list just because I like him coming out of the bullpen. I think that Jack Dreyer is a really useful guy to deploy a lot of different ways. Ryan, I think, is the most intriguing of the guys because he may have the highest ceiling of the guys that we're talking about right there. And his ability to pitch in the major leagues is kind of an unknown at this point. We saw a little glimpse of it a couple of years ago, and he looked pretty good. But, who knows? We just haven't seen enough of him to have a real good idea of what he's going to look like on a regular basis in the major leagues. Wrobleski, he's another one. I kind of put him in the same category that I put Emmet Sheehan in, where that there's proof of concept. He pitched and got big outs in the World Series. He pitched and got big outs in the postseason. Like that to me is a bar that is more than just interesting. It is the highest pressure cooker that you can put these guys in. And I think what you see in those situations with a guy like Sheehan, with a guy like Wrobleski, is their floor is go back. I'm kind of rambling here a little bit. Go back to when Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin got thrown into the World Series in 2020. It did not go particularly well. They were really, really over their skis a little bit. And you could tell these are big moments. These are big outs. These were guys that were really green at this point in their careers, and it showed. And now think about what Sheehan looked like. Now think about what Wrobleski looked like. They did not seem like they were over their skis. They seemed very comfortable in the biggest moments. So I think that Dave Roberts and the entire Dodger brass could put those guys out there and feel really good about it, because their ceilings, we'll see. We'll see how good they can get. But what I like about both those guys is I think their floors are really high. Like the worst version of them is still pretty darn okay. And that's the secret sauce, right? Like you can't give me a bunch of A's and F's, but if you just give me A's, B's, and C's, I can work with that all day long. And those guys don't even give you very many C's.
Yeah, and when you talk about, for example, we brought up Ohtani and how he might not be ready for 4 or 5 innings off the block. Right here, you could pretty much look at it as a bullpen game for the Dodgers, like they were last season when he was kicking off things. And that could also be an option, Travis, for that 5th rotation spot, a bullpen game, because we've seen the depth from this team where it's like, hey, you can throw a bullpen game out there and not miss a beat. We saw it in the postseason a couple of years back against the Padres in a must-win situation. No problem that they had a bullpen game. We've seen it throughout the years. Heck, that 2024 season, it was you had Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you had Jack Flaherty, and then it was the bullpen saving the boys in blue. And that was it. And they still won it all. So now it's like, okay, the storyline is that the Dodgers entered spring training potentially with too many starters. And now after Blake Snell and you have this Gavin Stone hit that it fortunately doesn't seem like it's going to be long term, but it will be at least a couple of weeks. You still have options and good ones to replace guys that other teams wish potentially to have as their third starters.
Yeah, one of my favorite baseball sayings is, these things tend to take care of themselves, because it's true. You got 7 guys for 5 spots. Guess what? Something's going to happen to at least 2 of them. This stuff always figures itself out. And, what they open with is interesting. I think it's a fun topic to talk about, but it's what they're going to close with that matters a lot more than who they have in September and October matters more than who they have in April and May.
And someone who has been part of the pitching plan for nearly 2 decades was Clayton Kershaw. He's no longer in it for the boys blue, but he is for Team USA. And next on Locked On Dodgers, him being with Team USA in 2026 might not been on anyone's bingo card, but it actually happened. And even though the outing wasn't perfect in an exhibition game yesterday, the moment itself was something special.
This week's MLB Top 100 highlight is brought to you by MLB The Show 26, the latest from the beloved video game franchise. And each week, we're highlighting the stars of MLB's Top 100 players list, the elite names you'll be controlling, building around, and going head-to-head with on MLB The Show. And today, here's what we're going to do. We're going to highlight number 23 on the list. Of course, we're talking about Mookie Betts, right? Mookie Betts, one of the best players in Major League Baseball, the man who did the impossible, went from the outfield to the infield late in his career and continues to thrive. So if you are a Mookie Betts fan, this is the guy that you build your franchise around. And in the show, you can do exactly that. You can play with your favorites, your favorite teams, your favorite ballparks. You can go retro. You can do all of these things, and you get so incredibly engrossed in the game. There's nothing quite like it. And of course, right now, it's WBC time. The World Baseball Classic is back, and you can take on actual WBC Classic teams from all over the world with your Diamond Dynasty team. That is this week's MLB Top 100 highlight, presented by MLB The Show 26, where you can play, manage, and build with your favorite players and teams. Pre-order right now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series 5 and X, and Nintendo Switch. It is rated E for everyone. You will love this game. If you love watching baseball, visit mlbthe.show/lockedon and use that code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty.
MLB opening day is almost here, and you can feel it. Fresh starts, big expectations, three-peat, and that first crack of the bat. Whether it's a breakout rookie or a division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being in the ballpark for it. The only problem? Getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's where there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you can unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The seat views feature is huge. It's my favorite because you can see the panoramic view from your exact seat before you buy it. It's simple to use. Plus, the Game Time guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats in minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with us and other listeners of this show on Discord. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedondodgers.supercast.com to join this community. Clayton Kershaw wears Team USA. A moment nobody expected in 2026 after he retired. For most Dodgers fans, the idea of Kersh pitching again already felt like a stretch because the future Hall of Famer retired after last season, hoisting the Commissioner's Trophy, winning his 3rd World Series with the Boys in Blue, which was one of the greatest moments in franchise history for a guy that for many years, Travis, was questioned about, will he ever win the big one? He won it in 2020, and then it was like, okay, will he ever win a regular season big one? 24, he wasn't pitching during the playoffs, but 25, he got his moment. It wasn't huge, but he was able to pitch in the World Series for the Dodgers. So seeing him back on a mound yesterday, wearing Team USA across his chest, I don't think anybody expected it. It was good to see it yesterday, and it was against the Rockies, a team that he terrorized for over a decade, nearly 2.
Yeah, well, the list of people that have terrorized the Rockies is long, so he's not alone in that. But you're right. It's just, look, I think this is why he's on the team, and I'm not trying to be anything other than completely respectful of Clayton Kershaw, who's one of the great Dodger players of all time. He's an MVP, multiple-time Cy Young, multiple-time World Series, all the things that we've talked about. So he's certainly one of the all-time greats, but. This is far more of a ceremonial role than it is a we're going to need you to get some guys out role, right? That this is where his expertise is in team building, in leadership, in just the aura of being like you watch, like guys are drawn to him in a way that not other star players have. There's a magnetism to Clayton Kershaw that I think everybody in that clubhouse knows. I think everybody on that coaching staff certainly understands. And just having him in the dugout, having him be able to sit next to Tarek Skubal or Paul Skeens or any of these guys in the Team USA pitching staff and be able to pick his brain a little bit, I think is incredibly worthwhile. Whatever happens in the tournament will happen in the tournament. If it's great, we might remember it. If it's bad, I think we'll forget about it almost as soon as it happens. I don't think there's any chance that he, stains his legacy. It just doesn't work like that. That the legacy is the World Series, the championships, the strikeouts, all of that stuff. If he has a bumpy outing against some WBC team that's not a threat to win it, we'll forget it by the end of the day. So I love that he's on the team. I think that it's really fun to see him in that uniform. And even if Mickey Moniak touched him up yesterday, it's still nice to see Clayton Kershaw on a baseball field.
Yeah, Team USA beat Colorado 14-4. Kershaw pitched 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, a home run, 2 earned runs, a walk, and a wild pitch. It wasn't nice, but for a guy that was supposed to be on his couch watching these games, That's not bad at all. And just even the moment when he left the game, hearing that crowd that was mostly just Rockies fans giving him a standing ovation, that shows you what he means to the game of baseball. He actually spoke with the broadcast during the game. Let's hear what he had to say about this moment for him.
Oh, it's been a blast, man. I just bucket list thing for me to get to do this and be a part of this group. And, fortunately, the arm's still attached. It wasn't coming out awesome, but it was coming out okay. And, gave up a tank, but it's all right. It was fun. It means a lot. I've wanted to do this for a long time. And, especially after watching the Winter Olympics and seeing the hockey guys and girls, it just was, just feels like it's a really cool thing to get to do. And if we were able to win gold and have USA on our chest, that's pretty special.
And Travis, that's a big point of conversation right there. He hadn't had this opportunity in the past, be it for injury, be it for insurance reasons. He hadn't been able to represent Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. Now he gets the chance to do it. And look, the role is pretty much emergency arm. If we need to throw somebody out there, either because we're winning by 10 or losing by 10, which that ain't going to be the case. It's more than likely when they're up by a billion runs against teams like the UK or Brazil, then they'll throw him out there where it's like, hey man, go have fun, throw the ball. Will Smith is going to be catching for you. Have a blast and take a standing ovation from the fans in Houston.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, this is clearly a ceremonial role. But I think that matters a great deal because there aren't any other guys that I think would be afforded the opportunity to do what they're doing with Clayton Kershaw. To your point, Harry, and I think you're right, Clayton Kershaw is not going to pitch against Japan. Clayton Kershaw is not going to pitch against the Dominican Republic. He's not going to pitch against those teams that have a chance to win this tournament, right? And if he does, something really weird has happened, right? The whole world has gone haywire in that situation. But even so, that they are using a roster spot for somebody that's not even going to pitch in the big leagues this year, not because they're ineligible and they've done it. They're going to the Hall of Fame. They've run the race. It's over. Like you watched him yesterday, and I say this with the most respect. You can just tell he's not in the sort of shape that the rest of these guys are because he's just an older player. He doesn't need to be in shape to go run a 6-month major league race. He needs to run a 2-week race, and knowing that he's barely going to play in that, but that they afforded him the opportunity to do it, I think speaks to what USA Baseball thinks of Clayton Kershaw. You heard him talk about what it means to represent his country, what it meant to him to watch the Olympics and get inspired by those sorts of things. And there are a lot of guys that I'm sure would have loved, hey, can I just come and maybe throw an inning or two here or there? And they're like, no way. But Clayton Kershaw, because of who he is, because of the respect that he commands, because of the aura that he has, it's like, yeah, man, come on in. We'd love to have you.
That clubhouse, that dugout, those major leaguers that are around here, they're excited to have the opportunity to play with him because if you weren't a part of the Dodgers from 2010 until now, you never played with Clayton Kershaw, and now you're getting an opportunity to do it. Guys like Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, younger guys like Bobby Witt, they're getting that opportunity to be with a legend like Kershaw that we saw last year. All the guys were trying to get autographed jerseys because they knew that he was retiring, where it was like, oh, okay, man, please hook me up. I'll get you a jersey as well or whatever you want, and that's a big piece of it. And one last thing. Did you see the video, Travis? I don't remember the last time I saw Kershaw without a beard. He looks so young, man.
The same thing. Yeah, I noticed. I said to my wife when we were watching that, I'm like, oh my gosh, look, it's Kershaw. And he wasn't clean shaven, but he didn't have the big beard like he usually does. You could tell maybe he'd shaved a day before or something like that. But it was he looked a lot as somebody that's got a lot of gray in their beard myself. I can certainly appreciate what a difference it makes to take it down a little bit. So I noticed the same thing too, that he looked a lot younger with that beard trimmed a little closer.
It was a throwback to those early 2010s when he was winning his first Cy Young, when he was winning the MVP before he started getting that beard out. I saw the video. I was like, holy crap. Yeah. So young. I mean, he is young. He turns 38 in 2 weeks. But I was like, that's probably the chill life now, being a dad, where it's like, hey, I can actually shave my beard instead of having to focus on studying all these other batters from other teams. So shout out Kershaw. You're my GOAT, man. I enjoyed watching you, and I'm going to enjoy watching Team USA next couple of weeks.
Me too. And just seeing him and listening to him and watching him interact with the players, it just reminded me again. And I know we're going to get a little taste of him on some NBC broadcasts and stuff in the studio. And great, I'll take whatever it is I can get. But I really hope he decides to spend a lot of time in Major League Baseball broadcasting it, talking about it, because he's endlessly interesting to me. He's obviously incredibly insightful and knowledgeable and accomplished, and I love listening to him talk. So the more Kershaw we get in a perfect world, him being a part of the Dodger broadcast at some point, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but more Clayton Kershaw in our lives, I think would be better.
And also, Sandy Koufax retired 60 years ago in
Yeah.
1966, and we see him. We see him at Dodger Stadium a lot. Hopefully that's the case with Kershaw. I know he lives in Texas. I know that he's an Arlington guy, but hopefully we see him at Dodger Stadium often as well. That will be huge. I mean, hey, I'll throw it out there. Opening day, first pitch, have Kershaw be the one to do it. I think that would be a great situation. All right, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, 2 long shot candidates are quietly making noise in camp and could sneak onto the opening day roster. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to the TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment.
College basketball is nonstop. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about big games. We're talking about tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. And this time of year, it's great because you've got early morning tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts, which means there's always action on the board. And right now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want. We're talking those rivalry games, those matchups between ranked teams, and of course, your favorites. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out in your world. Then you apply the profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. So you can go safe, you can go big, take a big swing, ride with your team that you've been following all season long. It's your parlay, your style, but now even more upside behind it. So here's what you do. You head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers, not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Dodgers roster surprise? 2 long shots are making noise. And spring training always produces a few unexpected storylines. And every year there are players who arrive in camp with almost no attention and then suddenly force their way into the conversation. And the Dodgers might have 2 of those situations developing right now. And let's start off with Santiago Espinal, who the Dodgers brought in on a minor league deal right before full squad workouts began. And at the time, it looked like a pretty straightforward depth move, but the team had already lost Sandy Ibanez on waivers. And then Kike Hernandez and Tommy Edman, they're dealing with injuries. And all of a sudden, it's like, hey, we need some extra infield coverage. And Espinal fits the profile perfectly. Travis, he's one of those guys that this front office loves with his versatility. And now having a couple of spots open on the active roster, he could be a guy that sneaks his way in, especially now getting more playing time with Hae-Sung Kim being at the World Baseball Classic. With Max Muncy, he had a couple of days off. He returned yesterday. He's in the lineup today, Thursday as well. But he's getting more playing time, and that could actually make him go from a bubble to, hey, I'm on opening day roster.
Yeah, I think that's possible. And I think you described it really well. I think it's one of these, is he going to be a major part of what it is that you're doing? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't break camp with the team because of circumstances, right? Because of other players not being ready, because of other guys maybe having a bump or bruise coming right out of it, and you need to give them an extra week or 2, and you need a body that can do a lot of other things. We've, our everydayers will certainly know how important I think it is, how important I believe the Dodgers think that it is, that you need to be able to do more than one thing. And he can. You can kind of put him in a variety of different positions. He can, he can hold his own with a bat in his hand. If this were everybody healthy, he's not going to make the team. But everybody's never always healthy, right? There's always guys coming in and out of the lineup, and you need players like this that can kind of fill some holes. And look, here's the thing. You get a shot, you never know what it turns into, right? You make the team, you get a few at-bats, you get a few hits, you make a few plays, and the next thing it is, you know what? Let's keep him around a little longer and see what happens. Let's put him out there and see what the next thing is. And if you continue to perform, they'll keep you around. So, making it is the first step. Staying is a little bit harder. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an opportunity there, just because other guys are unavailable at this point in the calendar.
An all-star in 2022 when he was a part of the Toronto Blue Jays. So that's something too that he has where It's like, okay, he might be a 31-year-old guy, but he's a guy that has been in the big league since 2020, and he's trying to earn his way on this roster. Someone else that is quietly trying to make his spot with this team is Nick Senzel, who's been having a solid spring too. And his story is fascinating because, Travis, not long ago, he was the second overall pick in the draft, the player that many scouts believed would become a star, but his major league career never quite lived up to that potential. He was bouncing back and forth between teams, and he ended up signing a minor league deal with the Dodgers this year, and he's making some noise with the boys in blue in spring. This one's a little bit tougher, a little bit more difficult, but I've liked what I've seen from him so far a week and a half into spring training.
Yeah, a couple of things that come to mind. Number one, it just goes to show you how incredibly fickle the draft can be, right? You just the draft is one thing, and sometimes it's Ken Griffey Jr. or Alex Rodriguez, and sometimes it's Brian Taylor or Todd Van Poppel. And if you don't know those names, then that's the point, right? Those are guys that were picked near the top of the draft, and it never worked. Mickey Moniak, who hit the home run off Kershaw the other day, was the number one pick in the draft. It's just, and it just doesn't work out for everybody all the time for circumstances. So I every time I hear a top pick there, it's like, yeah, that's interesting, but it doesn't guarantee anything. The other part that I think of is, I always like it when the Dodgers take a flyer on a guy that hasn't worked out somewhere else. That's always very, very interesting to me. And not that they have, some magic wand that they wave over guys and everything gets fixed, but they do seem to have a little bit of something about unlocking whatever potential there is in a guy and maximizing that. Now, I think they're better at that when it comes to pitchers, maybe than some other spots, but think about Chris Taylor, think about Max Muncy, think about some guys like that where, hey, there's something in there. Let's bring him in here and see if we can get the most out of it. And, Senzel could be the next guy to do that. Again, it's just such a numbers game as far as making the team. But I'm always intrigued when the Dodgers say, you know what, bring that guy in here. Let's give it a shot, because their drafting and developing and scouting department, especially their professional scouting department where they're scouting other teams, is really, really good.
I don't know if you did it on purpose or not, Travis, but Mickey Moniak was actually the number one overall pick in that draft, where Senzel was the number two pick in 2016. And both guys right there, we're talking about them now. He was with the Phillies, Moniak, when he got drafted, and now we saw him yesterday with the Rockies, Senzel with the Reds. Now we see him with the Dodgers. And we came into spring training being like, okay, who's going to show up big time? Because Ryan Ward, he has a spot on the roster, and he had that monster year in the minor leagues last year, but then the Dodgers signed Kyle Tucker, and it's like, okay, now that outfield position is super crowded, what else are you going to find a place for him on this team? Could he be potentially on his way out in a trade? Or somebody going to try to get him into their team? Because we've seen crowded positions. Michael Busch a couple years ago, the Cubs get him. Now he's an all-star. He's a fantastic player. So nothing is guaranteed right now, but there's players making noise, and sometimes all a player needs is one opportunity. And these are two names that we got to keep in mind.
Sure. I mean, you can't do anything if you don't get at bats. You can't do anything if you don't get innings. You got to get an opportunity. And this is why I like Michael Busch is a perfect example. I'm glad you brought him up. There was nowhere to use him here. Like, it doesn't mean he can't play. It means we don't have any at bats for him. So let's see what else we can do. I fear that Dalton Rushing may find himself in a similar situation where doesn't mean he can't play. It just means there aren't enough at bats here for him. And I'm sure that, they're going to try to figure out a way to get some stuff done, but it's It's a tough business, man. There's only so many guys, and it's not like basketball where you can slide guys in and out. Like, you either are in the lineup or you are not. And if you're not, you might get one at bat, but you might get zero. And it's just, especially a team like the Dodgers, there's just not a lot of spots available.
We brought up two names, Espinal, Senzel. If there's someone that you're watching at home and you're saying, man, this is a guy that I feel that is playing good right now in Cactus League action, let me know in the comments below on YouTube. I know that my guy Craig, I know that my guy ADK, they're watching the premiere right now. Let me know in the comments who has left a good impression for you so far in spring training action. All right, that'll do it for today's pod. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We'll be back tomorrow, and I'm excited for Friday's episode because we will absolutely be talking about Team Japan's WBC debut, anchored by Dodgers superstars Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Travis, I more than likely am going to volunteer for the 2 a.m. feeding slot for my little daughter because I'll put it on TV to watch Yoshi and Shohei.
Pay close attention because I will be sound asleep, my friend. You'll be the expert on that one tomorrow morning for sure.
We'll definitely be talking about it here on Locked On Dodgers. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers ad free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the MLB season. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.